Well, we have a special guest on the phone today, Marc Jaffee, who is the CEO of Childcare Learning Centers. Based in Stamford, Childcare Learning Centers is a not-for-profit that works to identify needs and develop programs for early childhood education and development. Marc, thanks so much for joining us by phone today.
Well, thank you, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, Marc, tell us a little bit about CLC. There's a very long history for CLC in the Stamford area.
That's true. In fact, we're 114 years old.
Wow.
And we've been serving Fairfield, for Stamford and the surrounding communities for a very long time. And we focus on 0 to 5, predominantly 3 to 5 year olds. So it's pre-K, and we serve 1,200 children a year. 51 weeks a year, 10 hours a day. And we're the third largest program of its kind in the state of Connecticut.
Now, Marc, why is early childhood education so important to the overall development of a child?
Well, great question. So, as it turns out, about 85 to 90% of a person's brain is formed by the time they're 5 years old. So, imagine that. For the rest of our life, we're only working with the additional 10%. So the greatest impact is with children when they're young, and that's the most formidable time. That's when the synapses are and the neurons are all sort of happening, and so that's when we can have a huge impact. And that's the case, and CLC provides not only sort of working with the children in numeracy and literacy, but also in health and wellness and exercise and diet, and social and emotional development, which is critical. We have a strategic relationship with Yale's Center for Emotional Intelligence, which probably is the preeminent provider of a program called Ruler, which focuses on K through 12 social and emotional development. And we've worked with them for the last 3 years to adapt that to pre-K. And we've embedded it in our curriculum, and it's been very meaningful and very impactful.
Now, Marc, would these be children who would otherwise be able to find these kind of services?
So we are funded in a variety of ways, but we run the federal Head Start and Early Head Start programs, and we run the state school readiness and child development programs. Most of our families are a working class and lower income. 70% of them, English isn't the primary language spoken at home, so they are immigrant children. And in fact, we have 28 languages spoken, representing 47 different nationalities. And the reality is that most of our families would not be able to afford, a private program. The irony is that actually the credentials of our staff are superior to many of the private programs. They're highly credentialed, and we are, as a program, NAEYC approved, which is a national accrediting authority, and we're very proud of that. Very important to us.
That's incredible. Now, we do want to mention that this serves Stamford families, and also, if parents work in Stamford, it also helps those children. Is that right?
That's right. So we currently have 8 locations, and they're all in Stamford. However, we have children from the surrounding communities, such as Darien, who come to CLC. We have children whose parents work in town, from Wilton and Weston and Westport, also who attend our program. And for instance, with Greenwich, there's a Head Start program in Greenwich, run wonderfully by collaborators of ours, the Family Centers, and they are our delegates. So we are the sponsor for Head Start in Greenwich.
Oh, that's great. And now, Marc, you talked about fundraising and keeping these programs going. There is a big fundraising gala this weekend, this Saturday. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So this weekend at Saturday evening at 6 p.m. on May the 7th is a Stamford Marriott Hotel and Spa. We have our annual gala, and it's called the Magical Evening. And we will have we are honoring two people, a corporate honoree, Marc Lautenbach, who is the president and CEO of Pitney Bowes, a wonderful philanthropic organization, and a cultural honoree, which is Marianne Hoberman, who is a renowned children's author and the former U.S. Children's Poet Laureate.
Wow.
And it turns out Marianne is a child of Stamford, having grown up here many decades ago.
Oh, that's great. And so how important is it to just get people to attend this event and help support the cause?
Well, so CLC is a significant, large nonprofit, but we are not sufficiently funded from government sources, and the private sector is really critical for us to be able to continue to do the good work that we're doing. This is our largest event of the year, and our organization is really dependent upon events like this. Among other things, we fund a need, and this year we will be funding our food program. So we feed our children 2 meals and a snack a day, and if you do the math, that's 500,000 meals and snacks a year that we feed to hungry children. And that program runs more than a $250,000 deficit. So it's government funded, but it doesn't do the job completely. And so one of the things that's critical to our continuing to do the work that we do is that we source support from the private sector. And so CLC, we're physically located in Stamford, but our children come from the surrounding communities, and in fact, our many families work in the surrounding communities, and so we impact all of really Southwest Fairfield County, and so that's why we're expanding our base of support, and it's wonderful to see actually the surrounding communities stepping up, and the communities that in fact Hersom Acorn supports.
Yeah, and so how can people get tickets to Saturday's gala?
Well, let's see. Tickets to the gala. You can contact Sonia Kellepez. That's SONYAKELEPEZZ at clcstamford.org, or you can call 203-653-1337, and we would love for folks to support us and to join us. It's going to be a fun evening.
Well, Marc, thanks so much. And if people want more information on the organization, the website is clcstamford.org. Thank you so much for talking with us and all the great work that you do.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks so much, Marc.